interactive is that students who are below grade level or who have some learning disabilities or who aren't doing as well in school as we had hoped typically have a A-OK locale memory. In fact, often they have an advanced locale memory because when one part of your brain is a little bit slow, it speeds up in other areas as a way of compensating. So, some examples. Since online learning, if we're not careful, limits us to what we're doing right now, right? We're on a screen. And I can see some of you and I could swipe through and see little thumbnails of you. But my universe is really shrinking down to the size of my computer screen or to my iPad or to my iPhone. And that's the opposite of locale memory. So teachers do well, and we do well, I think, to encourage teachers to, in an online setting, get kids up and away from screens and into three-dimensional space. If we're working on a timeline of World War II, why not get some masking tape and run it all the way down the hallway of your house and put 1945 in the middle and 1940 and get some Post-it notes and put the major events that happened across World War II out into three-dimensional space rather than try to keep it just in the space, you know, between our ears. Honestly, when students are spread out like they are now and they're engaging with teachers from their homes, they actually have more space. And so locale memory is just a way of capitalizing on that space. Spending time away from screens and trying to learn in three-dimensional space. My daughter, or excuse me, my granddaughter, Ellie, is 4 years old and her preschool is doing online learning. And the teacher sent this assignment a couple of days ago. She said, get some whipped cream or some shaving cream out of your parents' medicine cabinet, spray it all over the kitchen counter, ask permission first, smooth it all out into a nice, even, you know, whipped cream or shaving cream, you know, about 1/4 of an inch thick, and then practice writing your letters in the cream, right? So take the letter B and trace it in the actual whipped cream. And if you don't get it just right, just wipe it out kind of like a whiteboard and do it again. And I thought to myself, as I watched my granddaughter participate in that, I wonder if that teacher knows what a good job she's doing right now with something called locale memory. So Mark, that's the first thing I would say, just from the Artisan teacher world into the online learning world, is that one theme that really stood out to me as being helpful is the theme called locale memory. The second one that I thought would be good to take a look at is the theme called performance feedback. So, you know, performance feedback is giving kids abundant and immediate and specific knowledge of results of the work they're engaged in. So Hattie's research shows how powerful this is. Marzano's research shows how powerful this is. Any effect size list of instructional strategies, feedback to students is always up in the top 5, if not the top 3. So I'd have to say that in some cases, online learning is a better vehicle for providing students with abundant, immediate, and specific feedback on their work. Think about it. Maybe a teacher in a traditional setting, face-to-face classroom, has 25 students in his class, and the students are all working on a task, and the teacher is feverishly zipping around the classroom, trying to give every student good, immediate, specific feedback on their work. And hats off to that teacher for doing that. It's an incredibly powerful instructional practice. But when we go to on an online setting and students are now spread out and we don't have to do it synchronously all together in a Zoom meeting, I want to stay away from individual platforms or applications. There's so many good ones out there, but I have to do a quick call out to Flipgrid. if there was ever a technological app platform that was made for giving students great feedback specifically and immediately, I think it's Flipgrid. In fact, I'm going to predict that Flipgrid is going to survive when we get back into traditional instruction. And because in this app, we can actually give students asynchronous, personalized feedback at any time during the day, at any time during the process. So one of the things that I'll just tie up on this is that when teachers give students abundant and immediate and specific feedback on their work, here's what students give in return: persistence, stick-to-itiveness, stamina. It's actually kind of hard to quit a learning experience when you're getting really good feedback on it. So Mark, there you go. I just thought that over a coffee break, I know maybe that's a lot of information, but you know, the two things from Artisan Teacher that I see really benefiting online instruction are those two. You know, get things into three-dimensional space, locale memory, and use this opportunity to use the technology to get kids even more abundant and immediate and specific feedback on their work. And so those are two Artisan Teacher tips for online learning.
Well, Mike, that's really helpful. I will tell you kind of a connected story. I had a, let me take off the spotlight thing here if I can. I had a principal tell me he had a conversation with a teacher remotely using a platform, and you're right, it doesn't make any difference what the platform is, but I had a conversation with the teacher, and he was just doing, you know, that check-in, how you doing, how you feeling? And the teacher's response afterwards to him via email was, that was the first time I ever felt like you listened to me. And I found that really interesting because, you know, we tend to mourn the things we don't have. You always want what you don't have, right? But there are some positives with this, and your point about how you give feedback and work with people, I think is really a good one. Other comments from people before we move to breakout sessions here in just a moment?
It's excellent.
Remember, you'll have to take yourself off mute. Lee Schultz Bartlett, you made a point of saying, this is amazing. I really appreciate this being put together. Tell us what your experience has been.
I'm trying to unmute. Are you there?
We can hear you now, yes.
Oh, hi, everyone.
Hello.
No, this really hit home for me. Our district is not expecting grades for students during remote learning, and they're asking that teachers provide feedback to students as their grade, if you will. And so it was just really affirming to hear that we're on the right track with the feedback piece.
You know, I think that's really an important piece. And one of the things I kind of liked about Mike, what Mike was saying, and it kind of ties into our conversation before the coffee break started today, was the importance of being able to find that it's okay that you don't know it all. And it's what we're always saying to a kid, right? When you're teaching, it's okay you don't know how to do this. Let me show you. Now let's build on it. Well, I think adults are even more so desirous of that feeling that the people they work with are okay that they don't get how to use Zoom or any other tool that you might be considering. And that reassurance, I think, is pretty critical for people to be able to work well. Other comments before we move into the last part of our session today, which is going to be a time for you to be in a breakout room with a smaller group of people. Kendra, you gave a nice comment on the chat side. Would you like to say it out loud to everyone?
Mark always has a way of providing people with opportunities.
Kendra, you look lovely. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. A political way of saying, now Kendra, say what you want to say. Well, what I was saying in the chat was highlighting that even during this crisis, continuing to highlight and accentuate that teachers are finding voices that they might not have had before. And this actually might highlight some innovative trends that we need to make sure we take back as we get back to whatever the new normal is. I'll give an example of what I'm talking about and how this relates to Mike's comments. And that is, I learned that there was a teacher who has absolutely excelled at the digital platform, and that somehow students who once were marginally succeeding in her class are flourishing. And so going back into the next school year, it would be a shame if we went back to the normal, because we actually could lose traction we've been making with kids. So it really means thinking about our craft differently and ensuring that we diversify and differentiate the type of instructional delivery we're providing to kids, because we might have just awakened something in students that we might not have seen otherwise. So, Mike, in terms of locale memory and ensuring that we're giving performance feedback to students, this is a great way to ensure that we do that when we come back to a classroom setting and provide variety and not lose the momentum that we might be bringing, especially for marginalized kids.
It's a really good point, Kendra. Mike Rutherford, would you like to share anything before we go to breakout rooms?
Yes, thanks, Mark. One other thing I didn't mention, but I know it will resonate with everything we're seeing in our classrooms, is that sometimes with technology, when we're giving students feedback, we're actually able to give students much more equitable feedback. In a classroom, sometimes it's the person with the highest hand, or the person that sits in the front, or the person we know we can depend on. But when we're using technology to give kids feedback, we can really do a much more effective equity check and make sure I am getting around to every student and giving them good feedback, even the ones who maybe in a traditional classroom might not receive their feedback until a little bit later on. Mark, the other thing, I'm not sure I can pull this off. I was just going to share with the group that all these Artisan teacher tips are on our website. And so if you just go to, I know it sounds like a commercial, forgive me, rutherfordlg.com. Here on the right-hand column, Artisan Teacher Notes, it's where you can click to do Artisan Teacher online learning tips, and that'll take you to a series of PDF files. It's a 5-part series. We have 3 out. The 2 we talked about, performance feedback and locale memory, are out there. There'll be a couple of more show up in the next couple of weeks. So I just wanted you to know that you can access those there. They're free, of course.
Hey, thank you, Mike. And a couple of wrap-up things. First, for those of you who don't have Mike's book, The Artisan Teacher, we're going to be sending you an email after this session letting you know that we'll send you a copy, because it actually is a really useful book. Secondly, Mike's tools that he has talked about are very accessible, and we'll also do a connection in that email with his website. Mike is a remarkable person, and he's been involved in SAMS, gosh, since the study period back in 2004, I guess, was the first time we had a connection with Mike. Also, several of you have asked if we're going to be doing these spotlight or these coffee breaks again. Yes, we have them scheduled all the way through the end of June right now with your favorite people. From Kim Marshall to Ken Williams to LaBonna Roth. They've all agreed to do these sessions with us. Shauna, you said you wanted to say something. What do you want to share with us?
Oh, I just wanted, hi, how are you, Mark? So good to talk with you and to see your faces, everyone. I just wanted to share and to piggyback on what was said earlier around all of the modalities of learning that the students are now able to take advantage of. And one of the things that we've really found that we've strived to do throughout the school year is engage our parents. And so at this juncture, as I know many have already said, and we all are experiencing, that our parents are our co-teachers. So utilizing their willingness to be a part of their child's learning now and not to just leave it all to the teachers or to the schools is one of those things that we really have to capitalize on when we return back to the regular school setting and ensure that they still feel as empowered as they currently do, because they are currently the child's primary teacher in a sense. So I just add that as one of the things that we really need to make sure that we continue when we return.
Well, I really respect that because it ties in with what we've talked about all the way through. What can you learn from this and how can you use things that are even better? And then more importantly, when we begin changing to another new normal, what's that going to look like? And is it going to be better than our old new normal? And it should be. That's the way it should happen and the way it should work. Yeah, I want to thank everyone for participating. What we're going to do right now is we're going to move to a breakout room session. There are about 100, actually 75 people online right now. And what we're doing is setting it up so you can be in a breakout and talk with other people for a few minutes. You certainly don't need to do this, and it's fine to log off. But if you'd like to participate for the next 10 minutes in a breakout room, we're going to go ahead and do that right now. And let me go ahead and increase the number of breakout rooms so we get it down to about 5 or 6 people in each room. I'm going to create the rooms now and tell you all, thank you so much. I respect so much the work you do and the fact that you guys make things work for your staffs, your teachers, your support staff, your parents, and your kids is something that you're going to be able to tell your grandchildren one day that during the pandemic, you did good, and you certainly are. Thanks, everybody. We're going to go to breakout rooms now. And Mike Rutherford, you are the best. Hi, Stephanie, can you hear me? Lakeisha, are you there? LaDonna, it looks like you're muted. Hey, Jennifer, are you there? Jennifer, are you there? Lisa, can you hear me?
I can. How are you?
I am well. You look great.
Oh, wow. It's the lighting. It is definitely the lighting. Let me turn on a couple more light bulbs. You might see some.
I think you missed, I think you logged in late and you didn't get to participate in the coffee break today.
I did. And I also
Oh, you did? Oh, good.
I came out of a breakout session with
Oh, okay.
somebody by the name of Arnie
Yeah,
from, is it Arizona?
yeah, yeah.
It was a pleasure speaking with him.
I see. Okay, I get it. Wasn't sure when you had joined us or not.
No,
Hi,
I
Stephanie.
started
Good
from,
to see you too. How are you?
I'm doing good. So
Good, how are you?
Life is good. Lisa, can you see Stephanie on your screen too?
I can.
Good, good. Lisa, meet Stephanie. Stephanie, meet Lisa. Tell each other what you do.
Nice to meet you.
Well, Stephanie, I work with Gwinnett County Schools with Kendra Bass, who spoke earlier before we went to breakouts. I work directly with her in her Department of Leadership Development.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah.
I am Stephanie Gobo. I'm an assistant principal in Prince George's County, Maryland.
Oh, wow. So we're
And you wrote one of our fantastic weekly tips recently. Thank you.
Yes, no, thank you for posting that. The calendar
yeah.
has been fantastic.
We had a lot of positive comments about that. No, not surprising. So was this coffee break thing worth doing?
It definitely was. It definitely was. I made a comment earlier to one of my coworkers in a prior team meeting. I said, we meet every, other day as a team, and then we also are, in direct communication with our families that we're at home with. And so every once in a while, I know we speak to our, friends on the phone or on social media, but it's nice to have a different setting and have a different group of people to talk to. So I told one of my coworkers, I'm going to register for this coffee session because I want to talk to someone else.
Yes.
Yeah.
I want to communicate with another team. I want to, see what's going on besides with my, direct team and my family. It's time to reach out to some other folks.
Yeah. When I asked Mike if he'd do this first coffee break with us, I said, I don't know how many people participate. And he said, well, it'll probably be about 4 or 5. And when we ended up with 155 people register, we thought, wow. And we thought, well, how many will actually participate? We ended up having just under 100 participate in the online session. So that's good. You have any suggestions? Oh, hi, Heather. How are you?
I am doing great.
Good to see you. Did you participate in the whole coffee break?
Okay.
Another one prior to
No. Have you been with us for the entire time today since 11 o'clock?
no, because I am off on time. Huh? See, it's only
Not a problem. Well, Heather, it's good to see your face. I'm glad you're joining us. Hey, Mike, thank you so much for doing this today.
Oh, it was a pleasure. I had a good breakout session. Thanks for putting me with a bunch of smart people.
Well, thank you for suggesting the idea of doing the breakout session thing. That was really easy and it was helpful. We had a number of people who have joined us. They had the same experience I do with time zones sometimes. So they were just logging in a little bit late. And so if any of you feel uncomfortable about the fact that time zones are tough, hey, I travel all the time, at least I used to before the pandemic, and I am constantly getting time zones mixed up. So don't be bothered if you had trouble there.
So did we record it? Because I will tell you, I didn't even think to look at the time zone. So obviously I've missed the entire thing.
Well, Heather, not a problem, but you have Mike Rutherford here. What do you want to ask him?
I don't I'm hoping to kind of hear some of the dialogue. I know that in one of the newsletters that you had sent out, gosh, it was several weeks ago, you had indicated that there were several, or maybe a 4-part that you were going to send out from the Artisan teacher, and one of them was on distance learning. And then I think the next one was going to be on some feedback, but then there was like a third or a fourth session, and I haven't seen those yet, but I had really enjoyed sending those out to the staff. So I didn't know if there was any more of those that we could use.
Well, Mike, what a good setup.
Well, hey, Heather, good to see you.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, we've, and I think Mark's going to make this available via email to everyone that was in the coffee break. So I don't think you have to like write anything down.
Nope.
But right there on the front page of our website, rutherfordlg.com, on the right column, there's a place you can just go to, Artisan Teacher Tips for Online Learning. And it's a 5-part series, and we've already published 3, 2 more to go. And so you can always go back there and download those from the archive, and it's pretty easy to get to, and they're free. And I think Mark is going to make that available to the group as well. We talked about 2 of those today, locale memory and performance feedback. And so those are just some of the Artisan teacher themes that I thought really do transfer well over into online learning. So that was the discussion today.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Thank you. I will get on there right now and look for those other documents. Because like I said, I had sent out the first 2, just some additional resources for our staff.
Yeah. And I think Mark even has a book for you. If you want to email him, he'll send you one. So so that'd be good if you don't have one too.
I do. It's Mike's stuff is really valuable because it's
Thanks.
not just the philosophical piece. In fact, there's philosophy behind it, but what is up front is, well, how do you use this? And what would it mean when you're actually working with a teacher or with another colleague? And that's one of the reasons I so enjoy it, because it truly is useful. Another tool that is really impressive that Mike had an amazing amount of impact in developing is the Missouri's Leadership Development System. And there's a lot of online tools that are available through that. And we're going to make that available, and we're going to do a coffee break with MLDS sometime in June.
Good.
They're also coming to the next national conference, which we hope will be in real time in Tucson, Arizona. And they're going to do a session, several breakout sessions on the MLDS tools. Hey, Jennifer, how are you? Jennifer, are you just joining us, or did you just leave one of the breakout rooms and come back to us?
No, I just got here. My internet was out this morning. We had a storm, and so I'm just getting here.
Gotcha. Well, I am glad you're with us.
And I'm going
Glad to be here.
Jennifer Corson, who is one of my colleagues, she did the same thing that I did. So Jenny, we missed it because we're off by an hour in time zone.
Oh no.
But no worries. Mike is with us right now. Say hello to Mike. There you go. We did record the session.
Mike, how are you?
Yeah, I would say hello and also say that the research is pretty clear. You can miss one of my sessions and still lead a pretty good life.
I don't know, Mike. There'd be some people who would not agree with you on that.
It's
Principal
clear.
Woods, how are you there in Missouri?
Doing well, thank you. How are you guys doing?
Good to see you again.
You too. Thank you for having this.
Yeah. Were you with us for the coffee break and you went to a breakout room and you came back?
I was not. I thought this is when it started.
Yeah.
You know what? Somebody, when he sends out the stuff, should be clearer about time zone. That's my fault. But don't be bothered by the fact he had time zone troubles. I was mentioning earlier that I am just notorious for saying, okay, we'll meet at 11 o'clock Eastern, and then I forget what time zone a person's in or what time zone I'm in. I've been on the East Coast or the West Coast, for example, in California, working with principals in Victorville, and set a meeting for 9 o'clock in the morning Eastern. And then I'm surprised when my phone rings at 6 because it's 9 o'clock Eastern. Oh, well. For those of you who did join us at a different time than when we started, we did make a recording, and I'll send you a link. We'll send you an invitation to request Mike's book that we'll provide at no charge if you'd like. It's very accessible. It's very useful. I think you'd enjoy it. Anybody else have anything you want to share before we close this first coffee break down? And we will be doing this every Thursday through June, and then we'll decide what we do after that at that point. Anybody else have anything for the good of the order? Thanks so much for joining us today. And Mike, you are terrific. Thank you so much for doing this, being the first person to do the coffee break. And
Well, thanks. That's a good place to go.
With my management of it, it took me a while to figure out, now how do I get Mike on the screen instead of everybody else?
No, you did great. And thank you for inviting me to be a part with your group. And thanks for the good work, Mark, that Sam's and everyone is doing to support kids and teachers all across the country. You guys are making a huge impact. I know you know that. So keep it up. And I'm proud to be on the team. Also, kudos to you, Mark, for wearing a tie. I'm really impressed that you wear a tie.
To be honest with you, though, since I'm home, you can't see this, but this is pajama bottoms on the bottom.
Too much information. Too much information.
Yeah, that's me. Hey, thanks, everybody. Take care.
See ya. Take care.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye, you guys. Take care.